guys, welcome back to my channel, this fun little corner of the internet. We're back in the OG corner, and today's video we are going to be talking about, I have my notes here, books, my favorite topic. So today I'm going to be recommending you books based on the things you like to watch. I always tell people when they come to me and they're like, oh, how do you enjoy reading so much? How do you find the books? Oh, I just don't like reading because there's no books out there for me. Honestly, everybody is a reader. You just need to find the right books. And today I'm going to be listing different genres of shows and movies, and I'm going to be recommending you one or two books that you can read from that genre to really start your reading journey. I promise you, if you find a genre that you like and you start reading it, you enjoy the process of reading more, which prompts you to start branching out into other genres, and then you just become reading is a brilliant habit and is a brilliant hobby to get involved in, and I'd be happy to be your gateway into this universe. I will link timestamps below for the specific genres to make sure that you guys can go to your specific place, or if you want to watch the whole video, then please do, and please make sure you like and subscribe and share with your friends so we can have this whole reading community. I think one of my biggest dreams or goals with this YouTube channel is with this YouTube channel is to have a book club come out of it, or some kind of culture club. I'd absolutely love it, but I digress. Let's get into me recommending you the books. So the first genre we're going to be talking about is teen TV shows. And by teen TV shows, I mean things like Shadowhunters, Shadow and Bone, and I kind of feel like if you enjoy watching shonen anime such as, One Piece, Naruto, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, I feel like you would really enjoy these genres of books that I'm about to recommend as well. So I think for this, people that like this specific TV show genre would really enjoy young adult fiction. And one of my favorites, and the first one I'm going to recommend to you today, is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. So The Young Elites follows Adelina, and in this world there has been this disease that has wiped out a lot of the population, and those people who have survived the disease develop very specific powers, but they also end up having a specific feature which makes them appear disfigured, and that is what happened to Adelina. Her father is very abusive, and she has this sister who's very beautiful and pretty and praised, and so there's a lot of animosity between them. She gets taken in by Prince Enzo and his other colleagues, and they help train her to be able to use her powers for good, and her powers are so cool. But as you go on through the series, I think what really draws me in is the character development of the main character is a test, and like that of animes such as Code Geass, the way we see her transition from this innocent girl, and then in the second book she kind of becomes this anti-hero. It's really interesting to see how she mentally falls and the relationship she develops with people, and I think is a really great starter series. The second one is one of my favorite young adult series of all time, and honestly, if you are my friend, you will know that anytime somebody asks me to recommend them a book series that I've really loved, I always recommend this one. I got this for my friend's birthday. I shout this from the rooftops, and this is The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is part of the whole Grishaverse series, but I really do recommend that you start with The Six of Crows and not Shadow and Bone, even though it's technically is the first book in the Grishaverse series. I think The Six of Crows is a brilliant starting point. It has found family, a bunch of criminals doing something relatively good, different points of view. It's amazing. So basically, The Six of Crows follows this gang called the Dregs, and their leader, Kaz, is given a proposition for this mission to earn a ridiculous amount of money that would help put members of his crew out of debt and basically help members of their crew accomplish their dreams. And so Kaz sets off to complete a heist on this, basically the most impenetrable place on their earth or on the planet, the Ice Court, and it's just following them as they try to penetrate the impenetrable place. And it's just an amazing story. Crooked Kingdom is honestly one of the best books I've read in terms of structure. You kind of just always are on the edge of your seat. The fight scenes are great, the way the stories are told, the twists and the shocks are great. Honestly, a hole in whole top tier book series. The next genre I'll be talking about is dystopian movies. I remember like from 2010 to like 2015, 2016, dystopian movies were all the craze. The Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Divergent, blah, 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 blah. And there was just like all these like mini random ones coming out of everywhere, and that was just such a thing. It's not really that much of a thing now, and I kind of do miss it. So for those people who miss it like I do, these are the two books I recommend. So first of all is the Divergent series. If you've watched the movie, the books are better. If you haven't watched the movies, the books are still really good. So basically Divergent, if you are unaware, is set in a world where everybody's placed into factions based off of their personality. So you have Erudite, you have Candle, you have Dauntless, you have Amity, and you have Abnegation, and they each represent different things. And at a certain age, everybody does a test, and then they get separated into factions. They can choose to stay in the faction they were born in, or they can choose to leave to move to another faction. The test just basically tells you which faction you're most suited for. So our main character Tris goes and does the test, and she is labeled as a Divergent. So essentially she can fit into multiple factions. She has multiple of these qualities, and that is considered dangerous in their society, which is basically built upon going against very set personality types and grouping those personality types together and giving them positions in their society that suit that personality type. But of course Tris is multiple ones of them, and they tell her that she needs to hide herself, and she's given the option to whether to stay or go to a specific faction, and obviously she decides to leave, and blah blah blah. The story goes on. The only caveat for this story is that the ending is quite shitty, but the journey is what's most important. The next one is another Marie Lu book. I'm a bit of a Marie Lu stan girl. Is the Legend series, again by Marie Lu. Essentially it follows two characters, Day and June, and essentially this is set in a dystopian America where they have to take a test, and this test basically determines whether they make it into school, what their position is in government, blah blah blah. And there's only two people to ever get 100% on this test, June and Day. However, Day is from a very poor area, so he isn't given the same circumstances, and they basically manipulate his results, so he just basically stays in that really poor area. And he has kind of become a legend as he basically steals food, kind of like a modern day Robin Hood. And June is a legend in her own right, or a prodigy, this next super powerful soldier, and they cross paths with each other after the death of June's brother, and she's trying to find out who did it, and she thinks it's Day, and they cross paths to each other. And it's basically the whole series is them realizing how corrupt their government is and basically trying to dismantle it and build a better one in its place. This is amazing. It has all of the tropes in a genre that you will absolutely, in the dystopian genre, that you will absolutely love. I remember I was reading the third book and I just sat there, I was just crying. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's amazing. And there is a fourth book as well, and the fourth book is just so beautiful and pretty, and it had an amazing, nicely wrapped up ending. Some people don't love some of the tropes, but if you love dystopian movies and every single trope in it, then you will definitely love this book. The next one is crime and mystery shows. So if you love a good Sherlock, if you love the movies Knives Out, these are the two book recommendations I would like to give to you. So the first one is Agatha Christie's A Murder on the Orient Express, and I've recommended this book before, but I'm gonna recommend it again. This is the classic whodunit by the queen of whodunits. Essentially what happens is there is a murder on a train, the Orient Express, and there is a detective on the train, and it just follows a very nice structure that each chapter is basically them questioning each person and character on the train, and then analyzing each piece of evidence, each piece of circumstances, and then the last chapter of the book is basically him exposing what's going on. And I was completely wrong. I hadn't watched the movie before, so I had no clue what happened or who did it. And I remember reading this, and this was such a fun thing. I would come to my friends into school who hadn't read the book and weren't really interested in reading book, but I was like, okay, so this is the evidence that we have so far, and I'm up until this point in the book. And we would create like boards, and we would try and guess who's gonna do what, what's gonna happen, and they would like put bets into who the great killer was. And then when I got to the end of the book, it was just so much fun to read this book and to go on this journey of trying to figure it out at the same time as the detective is trying to figure it out, and then obviously to just be hit with a massive twist on the end. It is just the most fun thing ever. This book I'm going to be recommending to you, well, play rather, is basically upheld in the Wall of Fame of English literature GCSE text, and it's J.B. Priestley's Inspector Calls. So obviously, if you've read it before, read it again. If you haven't read it before, it is amazing. So it takes a lot of the typical things we see in the whodunit genre or the mystery genre and subverts it. Essentially, this is a rich family, the Burling family, celebrating the engagement of their daughter Sheila to what's his name, Gerald, right? And then the detective comes knocking on the door, and he basically says, you guys, somebody has just killed himself and we are thinking you guys are suspects. And basically, one by one, he breaks down and exposes each of the characters and how they link to this death of this person who killed themselves. And it's just so interesting because not only does he explore things like classism, misogyny, the situation of poor people at the time, it also talks about like socialism versus capitalism. Obviously, I'm saying this because I study this for English literature GCSE, and it has this amazing twist. Like, I remember the very first time I read it, I think I was 13. I read it before we started studying it in school, and I was like, oh my god, it was such an amazing twist. And the play itself is just really interesting to study and to just read by itself. It is definitely one of my favorite mystery novels that I've ever read, and that's 100% why I've recommended to you. It's not really a novel, it's a play. I need to stop saying that. But yeah, the next books I'm going to talk about are romance. Now, I'm not really a big fan of like singular romance books, I can't lie to you. I'm not really a fan of singular romance movies. I like romance in things, I don't like romance things. Does that make sense? But I still have two very good recommendations, because if I read it and I enjoyed it, then definitely people who love romance are going to read it and enjoy it. So the first one is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. There is a movie version of this, but the book is 100% better. So basically, there is a girl called Natasha, and her family is about to be deported back to Jamaica. And then there's a guy called Daniel, and he's basically on his way to his interview for, I think it was Harvard or Princeton, some Ivy League school that he doesn't really want to go to, but because of his Korean parents' expectations of him, he's basically doing it. And they happen to cross paths, and Daniel makes a bet with Natasha, you know, classic, I bet I can make you fall in love with me in one day. And so along the lines of the book, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna read it in one day too. Maybe I can fall in love with them, and I absolutely did. What is really interesting about this book is the way it's structured. So we get a chapter from Natasha's perspective, a chapter from Daniel's perspective, and a chapter from this omniscient narrator. And the omniscient narrator is probably one of the most interesting bits. So through Natasha and Daniel's interactions and with the meeting of people, the omniscient narrator then provides like a greater image for us to see it in depth, right? Whether it's somebody they pass by on the street and how their interaction may have saved that person's life, whether it is a deep dive into why we love and why we are so obsessed with romance, or a deep dive into why this character interacts with a certain person's way, this person's history. And it just makes the book more interesting because you're kind of learning life lessons. It made me perceive love in a slightly different way. Like, I felt like love was this thing that everybody chased, that was kind of scammed by. I was pretty much a Natasha at the beginning of the book. However, by the end of the book, it made me open and realize how important it is love and relationship is with people. It can save people's lives in the way we react and we interact with each other. We are just a bundle of the different interactions we are as people, and the interactions we've made with people and the relationships we have with people and the memories we have from those interactions are basically encompass who we are and the way we respond to things and the way we act. And just this book helped me realize the importance. I've read this book I think about 3 times, all in a day, and it's just genuinely a very enjoyable and very insightful romance read. The second book I'll be recommending to you is An Enormously English Monsoon Wedding by Christina Jones. So this book is just a nice romance book. It's nice, it's light, it's funny. It's like watching Bridesmaids or something for an hour. Like, it's light, it's funny, it's entertaining. It doesn't really have any heavy topics, but it does kind of expose some of the difficulties that people have in interracial relationships. So essentially, this book follows our main girl who's getting married to this Indian guy who in my head was totally so hot. He's a vet, he's hot. And essentially, so his mom comes and he says, I want all of these Indian traditions. And the girl is like, but I've always imagined my wedding this way. And it's basically just a clash between those things and just how they navigate it. It's kind of funny, it's interesting, and it's just really like a nice, sweet read. And yeah, I highly recommend it. That's all I can say about it. Wow, those are all the book recommendations. I hope I explained them properly. I know I'm a bit of a mumbler. I'm horrible at explaining things. But if you really like this book, I would be happy to do more, like make it a bit of a series, maybe get more specific into certain genres, like enemies to lovers romance, or self-improvement to do with health, or self-improvement to do with mental health, or teen TV shows like Riverdale. Do you know what I mean? Like more and more specific. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope this encourages you to read more books. Anyway, lots of love. Jesi. Bye. This is what is behind my desk, guys. When I I have like my makeup box, I have like my notebook, and I just have random things. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye. Do you guys like my nails? I've been obsessed with this color. It's like great. Like, you know, the color of my, I always say black is the color of my soul. Gray is the color of my soul now. Bye.